senator.
Turn me around.
No.
Turn me around.
No.
Turn me around.
Gonna let no senator.
Turn me around.
I'm gonna
Keep on walking.
I'm gonna
Keep on talking. Walking up to freedom land.
ain't gonna let nobody.
Turn me around.
No.
Turn me around.
No.
Turn me
No.
around.
Ain't gonna let nobody.
Turn me around.
I'm gonna
Keep on walking. Keep on talking. Walking up to freedom land.
ain't gonna let no handcuffs.
Turn me around.
No.
Turn me around.
No.
Turn me around.
Ain't gonna let no handcuffs.
Turn me around.
I'm gonna
Keep on walking.
I'm gonna
Keep on talking. Walking up to freedom.
let me hear you say it. I ain't gonna let nobody.
Turn me around. Turn me around. Turn me around. Turn me around. Keep on walking. Keep on talking. Walking up to freedom.
Ain't gonna let no governor. Come on.
Turn me around. Turn me around. Turn me around. Turn me around. Keep on walking. Keep on
Okay, y'all.
walking.
This is long string.
To freedom.
Everybody turn around and look at the camera and say, ain't gonna let nobody.
Turn me around.
No.
Turn me around.
No.
Turn me around.
Gonna let nobody.
Turn me around.
I'm gonna keep on walking. Keep on talking.
Walking up to freedom.
Hello to everybody across the nation and literally across the world. This is Reverend Dr. William J. Barber, Bishop Barber, and my co-host today again is Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris, but mainly the co-host is really all of you and all of the people. You know, you have proved once again, and it's being talked about everywhere. I was in a place the other day and some media folks say, how do y'all do that? I said, do what? They said, how do you mobilize like that simultaneously? I said, it's what's called building from the bottom up. It's what's called understanding how you work together, how what's most important is the agenda. It's called lifting up everyday people and giving the stage away. It's called trusting the ingenuity and the power of impacted people and moral leaders and advocates. It's called fusion coalition building, and it's called understanding that we build from the bottom up and we seek to change the narrative and build power. They said, but how do you get people to work together like that? I said, well, when you understand what an agenda is and you're clear, we stand against systemic racism, systemic poverty, ecological devastation, the denial of healthcare, the war economy, militarization of our communities, and the false moral narrative of religious nationalism and white evangelicalism. And when you have not just a cursing of the darkness, but you have an agenda to bring light, then people can come together. And when you honor the states and you recognize how important it is for California and the Carolinas to be together, for Massachusetts and Mississippi to be together, when you understand how important it is for people in Appalachia to be together with people from Alabama. And when you don't play these games where the black folk are over here and the white people are over here and the brown people are over here and the Latino people are over here and the Asian people are over here and the gay people are over here and the straight people are over here and the environmentalists are over here and the voter suppressionists, anti-voter suppressionists over here, but you understand that if, in fact, those who would continue to promote injustice, if they are cynical enough to be together, we must be smart enough to come together. And when we come together, there is proof throughout history that it doesn't take all of us, but a remnant can shift and change this nation. Then you can do exactly what you all have done today in more than 30 states at one time. It's a marvelous thing. And you've had many, many, many Congress people sign on to this legislation. And so that's all I want to say is what up, y'all? And I want to say really, this movement is continuing to show that we ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. Today is across the nation, June the 21st. We're all gonna be together for the National Poor People's, Poor People, Low Wage Workers People's Assembly Moral March on Washington, lead up to the call for 365 days of action, leading to the most massive poor and low wealth people's assembly march on Washington ever in June of 2022 around the Third Reconstruction. We are clear, a nation that in America where she is now, nothing less than a Third Reconstruction that seeks to end poverty and low wealth by building from the bottom up, that deals with all of the issues at one time and not separately is what's needed. The resolve. We do not have a scarcity of money. If we were in church, I'd say that with me. We do not have a scarcity of ideas. What we have is a scarcity of social consciousness and movement. And guess what? You all are saying to this country, well, that's over too. That scarcity is over too, because we are going to shift the narrative and the consciousness of this country. Now, I want to say this, and then I want to turn it over to Liz, because somebody said to me just the day before yesterday, why would you all offer people hope when things are hopeless? And I said, what? They said, well, this country doesn't want a Third Reconstruction. This country doesn't want to change. Even some of your allies don't believe. Why would you offer hope? My first response to them was, well, I'm glad you weren't alive in the days of slavery, because you still be in slavery, because you'd have just said, well, I'm glad you weren't alive in the days of Jim Crow, because you'd have just said, well, there's no need of doing everything. I'm glad you weren't alive when it was the women's suffrage group, because you'd have said, well, there's nothing we can do. I'm glad that you weren't around in the anti-war movement. People say some strange things. Well, look, we are clear. Nothing progressive, nothing powerful, nothing moral has ever come easy. But the race is not given to the swiftest nor to the fastest, but they that endure to the end. And if we don't get it all, I'd rather die trying than die doing nothing. I'd rather live in my hope than to live in hell. I'd rather live in hope than to live in despair. And even when I have despair some days, that despair, my hope goes through that despair. We hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. We don't just give in to it. And what's hopeless about 30% of the electorate now being poor and low wealth? That sounds like power to me. What's hopeless when we got 140 million poor and low wealth people? On one side, that's a bad thing, but on the other side, that tells you it's a whole lot of people. What's hopeless about the fact that in 15 states, poor and low wealth people, if they vote together, can fundamentally shift elections? What's hopeless about the fact that if we mobilize people, we have history. The abolitionists weren't in the majority, but they ended up winning. The civil rights movement, when they were told you're not going to get a Voting Rights Act, but they did. Now, did it cost? Yeah. But I'd rather be singing "Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around Until I Die" than to have a premature death and still be walking around living. And maybe they don't understand us. Maybe they don't understand what we're saying when we say we coming. We are about love and we're about justice, but we're also about nonviolent direct action. We're not going to let no jail turn us around. We're not going to let any, handcuffs turn us around. We're coming, and we're coming to press and to push. And I would bet you there's more for us than against us, but too often nobody has raised these issues. We've just let them go. But I want to read something to you also from about hope, so we can be clear what real hope is. It says from Jürgen Moltmann, it says, real faith, when you want something, when it develops into hope, hope has to be developed. When it develops into hope, it doesn't cause rest, it causes unrest. Real hope doesn't cause patience, but impatience. When what you believe for develops into hope, It does not claim the calm, the unquiet heart, but this kind of hope itself is an unquieted heart in man or woman. Those who hope in God can no longer put up with reality as it is. And then they begin to suffer under that reality to contradict it. You hear that? Those who have this kind of hope can no longer put up with reality as it is. And they are willing to suffer underneath it in order to contradict it and change it. We can't put up with this reality anymore. 750 people dying a day from poverty before pandemic. No. And what we know is we don't win anything if we don't fight. And we've never won anything without a fight. But history tells us every time people have come together for moral and just reasons and stayed together, they win. Whether they win it in their lifetime or in somebody else's lifetime, whether they win apart now and apart later. But justice, I didn't say it doesn't get bloody. I didn't say it doesn't get knocked down. I didn't say it doesn't get hurt. But every one of you on this call today are here because justice in some way in your life won. And so don't let people tell us, well, there's no hope. They don't even know what's possible. You don't know what's possible till you organize for it, till you mobilize for it, till you push for it, till you stand for it. And I bet you, I just got a sneaky suspicion. I can't hear you all because I can't unmute, but I got a sneaky suspicion that the folk on this call are adamant about this one phrase, forward together and not one step back. Am I right? That is our hope. And we won't bow down to any. Bowing down is not an option. Bowing down to oppression, bowing down to poverty, bowing down to politicians that's not an option for us anymore. So that's the end of what I wanted to say. We will be forward together. We will mobilize. We will change this nation. We will change it even if the change comes because we sow the seed and then it grows up in somebody else's life. But the thing we will not do is sit down and accept reality as it is. If I'm right about it, put your fist up in the air and let me see it. That's what I thought. I love y'all. Y'all ain't nothing but the truth. Liz?
That's right, Reverend Barber. That's right. And indeed, people took action all over the country today in 50 congressional offices, 30 states, and we're still taking action now. Please go to thirdreconstruction.org, sign up to join us, either in person or online, depending on where you live, on June 21st, and keep on sending this powerful Third Reconstruction, fully addressing poverty and low wages from the bottom up resolution, a resolution that now dozens and dozens of congressional leaders have co-sponsored, have signed on to. Make sure you send them to the rest of them. Send them to everyone, send them far and wide. Make sure that your congressional representatives have signed on and are taking up the resolve to actually fully address these issues. We have a powerful group of folks that are going to be doing a roll call with us today. I can't wait to it, and so I'm going to go right for it. Alabama, are you in the house? Are you down pushing for this Third Reconstruction from the bottom up?
Alabama's in the house. Hello, my name is Pamela Foster, and I'm excited to kick off the roll call representing the Alabama Poor People's Campaign. Our members today gathered in Gadsden and Mobile, Alabama, to demand all of our state's representatives embrace the Third Reconstruction resolution. Along with over 50 simultaneous actions across 30 states today, together we are saying in one loud voice, it's time to fully address poverty and low wages from the bottom up.
Awesome. And then can we get Florida?
Florida está aquí. Florida is present. Hello, everyone. I'm Guadalupe de la Cruz. I'm one of the co-chairs for the Florida Poor People's Campaign, a call for moral revival. And today we did do an online digital press conference centering this Third Reconstruction and Resolution with our folks throughout the state of Florida that came on and spoke their truth, brought their vulnerability, and came together and demanded for this real change to happen, especially when we have lawmakers like Senator McConnell and Senator Manchin who are blocking legislation for voting rights and living wages. We need to build the resolution for the Third Reconstruction that centers the 140 million people and low-income people in the country and the 9.8 million poor and low-income people in the state of Florida, with more laws and legislation that meet our needs.
Amen, amen. Nell Mahan from California, can you tell us what's going on there and why you're a part of this fight? All right, let's keep it moving. Illinois, are you here?
I'm always here. My name is Maria Costa. I'm with the Illinois Poor People's Campaign, and we gathered, with so much power on the west side of Chicago. It was amazing to demand not just the 5 of our 11 legislators to embrace this Third Reconstruction resolution. We're going to keep it going because 2 weeks from today, on June 21st of 2021, we will gather online for the National Poor People's Assembly and launch for 365 days from then, fighting forward to June 2022, when we will gather with this massive moral march on Washington. So we're very excited because it will be in person. And as the young kids say, I believe it's IRL, in real life. I look forward to it.
All right. Indiana.
Indiana's in the house. Technologically challenged. I gotta find the script.
So tell me
Okay. My name is Tim Watt. A lot of people call me Harry Hippie. I don't have a clue why. I'm with the Indiana State Poor People's Campaign. We gather today in Indianapolis and several other cities to demand all of our state's representatives embrace the Third Reconstruction resolution. And over the next year, we will continue to organize, mobilize, and build our power so we can realize a Third Reconstruction to build this country up from the bottom. Because when you lift from the bottom, everybody rises.
Exactly right, Tim. And I want you to do something for me because there's some media folk out there. Tim, you from Indiana, my home state. I want you to just tell the media in a couple of sentences what you think about Manchin. That's just deciding that he's going to block everything, living wages, block voting rights, and it's hurting everybody. And why you, just from your heart, why you are engaged in a Poor People's Campaign and you don't intend to turn around anytime soon. Whatever's on your mind.
Okay. Well, I was a homeless Marine Corps veteran in Indianapolis for about a year. After my 22-year marriage dissolved, I started suffering from depression, anxiety. 6 years after my divorce, I became homeless. I am a lifelong resident of Indiana, a Marine Corps veteran. I owned a campground, fishing lake, mobile home park in Southeast Indiana. And, my peers then, my pastor, my accountants, my lawyers, they're telling me that there's all these government subsidies out there for people just like me and my wife. All we have to do is sign paper. We get this tax-free subsidies and grants and everything. On paper, we're dirt poor, property rich, but dirt poor. But in real life, we're living and sustaining a 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom home with a full jacuzzi in the basement. We're buying the newest SUV with all the bells and whistles, the big TV screen in the back seat for the kids to watch when we're on long road trips, whatever. And this is all free and legitimate, given to us by the government of the United States. Then I become homeless, and everybody starts blaming me for society's ills. And it's like, okay, when I had everything, everybody wants to give me more. But when I got nothing, everybody just wants to spit on me, tell me I'm a useless piece of dung, whatever. Does anybody else see the hypocrisy in that?
That's right. That's why I didn't know why I wanted you to speak. I never met you face to face. I look forward to it. Where we really talk. But that's what we're talking about. Do we have a country that's, Lord, I'm gonna say it's ass backwards. When folk have a lot, they want to give them more. You got a lot, they give you more tax cuts. The wealthy gets more and more and more and more. And then when you're hurting, when you don't have a living wage, they'll give you a name change. They'll call you essential, but then they won't give you the essentials you need to exist. And we have to change that, because that's immoral, is morally indefensible, is constitutionally inconsistent, and the truth is it's economically insane.
Exactly.
So thank you, Tim, for lifting that up on today. Listen, we got Kansas is coming, and then a testifier from Georgia, and then Kentucky is coming, and then Maine is coming. Because we coming, y'all. They need to understand that we are coming in all of our power and diversity and all of our force. So let's come in that order: Kansas, and then Georgia, then Kentucky, and Maine.
My name is Chris Overfelt, and I'm here today with the Kansas Poor People's Campaign. We gathered in Kansas City, Kansas, to demand that Sharice Davids embrace the Third Reconstruction Resolution, and along with over 50 simultaneous actions across 30 states today. Together, we are saying in one loud voice, it's time to fully address poverty and low wages from the bottom up.
All right, Georgia.
All right. Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Cassie. I am standing with the Georgia Poor People's Convention, and I wanted just to testify and tell how what's going on has affected me and, of course, my surrounding peers. Now, I am an ex-veteran. My family comes from a full line of veterans, being in the Air Force and the Army and the Marines, of course, and we risk our lives for our country. And I feel like when we come back, there should not be not one military person going without food or shelter or with any types of help. Also, for generations, we have been taught about this American dream that has become more and more of a dream and not a facade as well. This should be reachable for all ethnic communities, not just the Black people, but for all ethnicities. We should all be able to reach this standard of living, and it's becoming harder for a parent of a single mother or a single father who take care of their own household, and you live on a minimum wage of $7.25. One bedroom apartment is going to run you about $150. So where the rest of the income coming from? There's no way that you'll be able to support your family and your kids and be able to supply food. You can't. There's a lot of people going homeless here. I've experienced it before. There are a lot of kids going without food, nutrition, meals, clothes. We have to do better. It just starts with us as the people and with the government. The government is for the people, by the people, so we should be having way more resources out there for the people instead of going through what we're going through.
Cassie, you're right. And when we say 54 cents of every discretionary dollar going to the war machinery, not to the veteran, to the military contracts, and less than 16 cents going toward things like education, healthcare, and living wage, that's a problem. That's a war on poor and low wealth people, not a war on injustices that are affecting this country. And we've got to challenge that. Thank you, Cassie. And I know Georgia's going to be mobilizing like we don't know nobody's business. Kentucky, Maine.
I stopped it. Stop the video. Okay. Great job. Thank you.
Kentucky.
I was so nervous. I thought myself started to stutter.
Who do we have? Kentucky? That was Cassie. Kentucky?
Arnold, if you could come off mute.
Yeah, come off mute, Arnold. Because Arnold's going to serve also as our bodyguard. He's going to make sure nobody mess with any of us. I'm telling you right now. Y'all see Arnold on? Yeah, Arnold don't play. Can you come off mute?
Let's maybe go to Maine and come back to Kentucky.
All right, Maine and then back to Kentucky.
Hi, Reverend Barber. My name is Linda Homer, and I'm with the Maine Poor People's Campaign. And today we gathered in 2 locations, in Bangor and Lewiston, to demand that our representatives, Jared Golden and Shelley Pingree, sign on to the Third Reconstruction Resolution. And I am so excited to say that 2 weeks from today, on June 21st, we are going to gather online for a National Poor People's Assembly. And on that day, we are going to start the launch of a 365-day fight toward June 2022. And we're going to hold a massive moral march on Washington, D.C. in person.
And you say that like you mean it, and you're going to make sure Maine people come. I'm like that. I like that.
Yes.
All right. Kentucky. I just went through Harlan County yesterday. Are you on Kentucky? Did you get that computer working?
I think they're still,
all right.
Still working on it.
You work on it. Liz, take over for the next 4, and then we'll come back to Kentucky.
All right, we're going to hear a testifier from Massachusetts. After that, Iowa, Mississippi, and then a testifier for Pennsylvania. So Massachusetts, Kate, take it away.
All right, my name is Kate Pousson Scarborough. We had 2 actions in Massachusetts today, one in Boston and one in Springfield. I've lived my whole life in rural Western Massachusetts, and over half of that time was spent in poverty. As a mother of a young son, I was a part-time student, and then I found myself in the role of single parent just as the 2008 financial crisis came on. And the early years were really hard. I mostly got by skipping meals and not heating my house when my son wasn't home. We had a wood stove was our only heat source, and a really small pile of wood. I couldn't afford any more. And I sort of started figuring out how to use power tools to cut up old furniture to try and keep warm that year. We couldn't keep our home, and we really struggled to find safe and secure housing. And my son and I lived in 10 different homes in the next 10 years. Predation by people in power was constant. Jealous landlords surveilling our home and entering without permission to search our drawers. An employer constantly begging to take inappropriate photographs, a mold problem glossed over, resulting in an illness. I was sick for several years from that. And every time, poverty was what limited my ability to leave those situations. I experienced a lot of judgment from others, and I internalized that blame for a while. And a lot of well-meaning people advised me that I should hide that reality so I didn't deter clients from the small business that I was building. And pretending that nothing wrong became my way of life. But it took me years to realize that that stigma was tied to a larger narrative of blaming the poor in order to distract from the policies that were intentionally created to keep us that way. Like every single parent I've known, I worked tirelessly to make it through, and I've also been lucky. But luck and grit are not a substitute for ethical and equitable policy. That's why I'm joining with the Poor People's Campaign to urge all our representatives to prioritize justice and support the Third Reconstruction Resolution.
And people need to hear stories just like yours, Kate, and the millions of other people that are in the situation. So I'm asking people right now to go to that thirdreconstruction.org website, keep on pushing out this resolution, keep on making these emails, but also make sure that folks are tuning into this live stream. Please push it out because people got to hear Kate's story and everyone's story. Iowa, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, you're next.
My name's Aisha Farrow from Iowa. Today I'm here with the Iowa Poor People's Campaign. We gathered in our state's capital, Des Moines, Iowa, outside of one of our representatives, Sydney Axne's office, along with many other actions, over 30 actions around the nation. And we are here to demand our state representatives to embrace the Third Reconstruction. Over the next year, we will continue to organize, mobilize, and build power so we can realize a Third Reconstruction and build this country from the bottom up. Because when you lift from the bottom, everybody rises.
That is right. That is right. Right before we get to hear from Mississippi, I'm wondering if Nell Myhan from California, I think you're here with us. Can you share a little bit of why you do this work?
Hello, everybody. This is Nell Myhand, and I am with the Poor People's California Poor People's Campaign and with the Poor People's Campaign National Partner, Global Women's Strike and Women of Color in the Global Women's Strike, an international network calling on all governments to recognize women's unpaid caregiving work as work and recognize them as being deserving of a wage and pay them. And today we gathered in San Francisco outside the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi's office, and in 9 other places from the top of the state to the bottom of the state, including Congresswoman Barbara Lee's office, the sponsor of HR 438, the Third Reconstruction resolution to fully address poverty and low wealth from the bottom up, and nearly 30 other states across the country. And as Speaker of the House, Congresswoman Pelosi is in a unique position to provide leadership to other members of Congress. And so we're here asking her and our other representatives to embrace the Third Reconstruction resolution. We need this for the 140 million low and no income people in the country and the 20 million poor and low income people in this state. More than 70% of the poor are women and their children. And among the poor, women are disproportionately represented among unwaged and low-waged workers. As an elder Black woman, I'm a member of the fastest growing population of unhoused folks. I had an experience with homelessness in the early 2000s after I had a health crisis. I had been a caregiver for my mother and disabled partner, and caregiving by family members is really not valued or paid for in this country. And so we recognize that the federal child tax credit is a step in the direction of recognizing that caring for children is work. And we think that's a step in the right direction, because otherwise we're left 53 million unpaid family caregivers to fend for ourselves. So in the early 2000s, Chase Bank foreclosed on us after refusing to modify the mortgage, in spite of the fact that they were being bailed out in that moment by the US government. And so we know that with the resolve to fully address poverty and low wealth from the bottom up, I and millions of others, Black, Latinx, Asian, moms, childless, trans, living with disability, immigrant, with or without papers, we indeed have policies in place that include paying for caregiving that end poverty and enable us all to live decent and dignified lives. Because we know when you lift from the bottom, everybody rises. So I'll be joining on June 21st for the National Poor People's Assembly and getting in a step for June 2022. Hey, Congress, we coming.
We coming. And Nell, make sure now that you all get a meeting with Pelosi and with Barbara Lee in the same room, because one of the things we want to tell them is that the hope we have is the hope that fights. You know, we got to help some of our people believe in that if this country can at least say they have the resolve to do it. If you can't resolve it, you can never resolve. If you can't have the resolve, then you will never resolve. In other words, you don't have at least the desire to do right, you'll never get to the policies that are right. So thank you, and thank you for being clear that we don't have a scarcity of solutions, but we've got to make permanent the things that are right. And sorry about that, Liz. I just wanted to jump in on Nell. She got me fired up over here. I'm about to have a Holy Ghost conniption.
Fired up. All right, Mississippi and then Pennsylvania.
Hey, y'all, Mississippi here. I'm Teron Moore, and I'm with Mississippi Poor People Campaign. And today we gathered at we gathered in Bolton, Mississippi, at U.S. Congressman Benny Thomas' office, and we demanded that all our state representatives embrace the Third Reconstruction resolution.
Amen. Keep pushing.
Hello, my name is Gabriela Castañeda. It is an honor for me to be here. I'm a member of MILPA, Movement of Immigrant Leaders in Pennsylvania. However, I live in El Paso, Texas, where we have one of the most militarized borders in the world, even when we're not at war with Mexico, our neighboring country. Here in El Paso, the state of human rights in our communities tells the story of a system that was designed to fail the border residents and enable agencies like Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection to abuse our rights in the name of border security. On a daily basis at the ports of entry, we face racism, prejudice, and ignorance whenever we go to Mexico to visit family members and are trying to cross the border back to the US. We are questioned about citizenship if we don't look American, whatever that means, even after presenting proof of citizenship. Similar situations of abuse are faced by residents along the border when Border Patrol agents enter their homes late at night or early in the morning without a search warrant to harass them, falsely accusing them of aiding and abetting undocumented immigrants. The irony is that we were told that the border wall was going to end illegal border crossings. The reality is that the border wall not only has cost us billions of dollars, but it's a symbol of hate, a waste of money, a reminder that we're not welcome here, and it was only used to advance a political agenda. What is true, what is real, is the ecological devastation that the border wall has caused to the flora and fauna, and this is immoral. We can no longer see all these issues as separate because they all come from the same root. We must learn to fight the good fight, staying away from the pragmatism that has divided us by issue. We can end this immorality, but we can only do this through organizing, through political education, through unity beyond race, nationality, political affiliation, language, or religious beliefs. I'm here representing the 140 million poor people living in the United States. I'm part of a social class who used to be on its knees, but that is now standing up, speaking up, and pushing back against all evils affecting our communities. We support the Third Reconstruction and aim for the reestablishment of justice through the fight against poverty and not the poor. As we emerge from pain, we understand that we are no longer victims, but agents of change. Today, once again, I make the pledge to defend the poor, to demand clean, clear water for everyone, access to healthcare, the end of militarization, the stop of ecological devastation, the elimination of systemic racism, the war against the poor and dispossessed, and to always fight for the rights of we, the people. When we realize that whatever happens in another community affects what happens in mine, it's when we understand that your issues are also my issues, that I will not have justice until you do. Forward together, not one step back. Thank you.
Thank you. And is that Gabriela?
This is Gabriela, yes.
Gabriela. Okay. Liz, tell Union Theological Seminary to send her preaching license today.
Right today.
Send them today because she, but you know, Gabriela, I'm joking, but I'm very serious. Thank you for something you just said. And I want us in the movement to grab this in our language. We must be set free from this pragmatism that puts us in prison, that's constantly telling us what we can't do, right? And rather than pushing for what ought to be. It is a dangerous pragmatism. It's not because it's not rooted in a vision of justice and hope. It's actually a form of victimization where you look at what's around you. You don't say, well, nothing. The politician said, well, let's look at these votes. Okay, this is all this pragma. And I tell people, if that was the way that people, for instance, the abolitionists had thought, then all they would have fought for was a long weekend. You know, we just don't be slaves on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and sometime on Monday, something like that. That's not what we're fighting for. And I want to read something to you as we go to the next people. It was sent to me by Clinton Wright the other day, and W.B. Du Bois talked about what Third Reconstruction is, because I know, Liz, before we get off, you'll list the things we demand in the Third Reconstruction. It's our agenda that the politicians are finally following. The resolution is theirs, but it's our agenda. And that Liz will also tell you what you can do, who's listening in, to promote today and get this message to your congresspeople. But Du Bois said something like this: Reconstruction isn't just about new laws to expand democracy, but was about the moral and political conditioning of the masses to reinterpret the existing Constitution as a newly defined, expanded democracy using the same text. So basically, They said, no, we don't have to change the text. We've had to finally use the text to be all that it says it is for everybody. And then he said, a moral and political commitment to redefine an expanded democracy. Not always necessarily new laws, but using the existing constitutional principles and expanding and redefining their meaning to move forward. And the truth is, that's what the oppressors always fear. They fear an expanded democracy. That's why right now people are talking against voting, because as long as a certain group of people are voting and winning, they're okay. They just don't want a democracy where everybody, regardless of race, creed, and color, has the same access. So the oppressors always fear expanding the democracy. So what do? They then radicalize the democracy. And they tried to hold the Constitution hostage to a pre-Civil War understanding. What we're saying in this movement, we will not be held hostage by a pre-pandemic understanding of the Constitution or a pre-dealing with poverty understanding of the Constitution. No. You said it on paper that establishing a justice is not a hope, it's a law, it's what we're about. You said promote the general welfare, yes, welfare for all people. You said equal protection under the law, and we demand that be expanded to include, and there's no way you can say either one of those three principles of our Constitution that I just said and put up with 140 million people living in poverty and low wealth. It is absolutely inconsistent and indefensible. So thank you, Gabrielle. Our next person that we have coming on is what I want to do before you come on. I got a little sense. Dolly, are you on from Alabama? Dolly, are you on? Because right about right now.
I'm on.
Dolly, you know what? I'm gonna call my dear sister from Montana, but we need Alabama to lead into Alabama. You need to show her how we set up a preacher in
all right.
You know, so the sister in Montana, she the preacher, but set her up. You know how we do that. Okay, set her up. And then
since we're talking about her.
And then after Dolly, it's gonna be Montana, Nebraska, and Michigan and New Jersey. But Dolly, set them up.
All right. Well, since we're talking about a third reconstruction, this song that I learned from Yara, I think is appropriate. It says, my mind is made up. I'm on my way up. I'm going to hold my head up, walking on in love, because I'm on my way to freedom land. And we're still on our way to freedom land. And not just freedom from slavery, but all those things that still enslave us and all those things that hold us bondage. We still want to go to freedom land. My mind is made up. I'm on my way up. I'm gonna hold my head up, walking on in love. My mind is made up. I'm on my way up. I'm gonna hold my head up, walking on in love. I'm on my way to freedom land. I'm on my way to freedom land. I'm on my way to freedom land. I'm on my way. Oh, yes, I'm on my way. I'm on my way to freedom land. I'm on my way to freedom land. I'm on my way to freedom land. I'm on my way. Oh, yes, I'm on my way. My mind is made up. I'm on my way up. I'm gonna hold my head up, walking on in love. My mind is made up. I'm on my way up, gonna hold my head up, walking on in love.
Amen.
All right, Montana.
All right. Amen, Sister Dolly, Reverend Dolly. That was wonderful. That made me feel very welcome. You know, I love a church song. My name is Reverend Danielle Rogers, and I'm with the Montana Poor People's Campaign. We gathered today in the city of Helena to ask our state representative, Rosendahl, to embrace the Third Reconstruction resolution. Because we may have lawmakers like Senator McConnell and Senator Manchin who are blocking legislation for voting rights and living wages. We know that we need to build the resolve for a third Reconstruction that centers the 140 million poor and low-income people in this country and the 400,000 poor and low-income people in the state of Montana. We know that we need moral laws and legislation that meets all of our needs.
All right.
And
Nebraska.
we got Nebraska.
Hi, my name is Angela Montalvo, and I am with the Nebraska Poor People's Campaign. Today we gathered in Omaha and Grand Island to demand that all of our state representatives embrace the Third Reconstruction Resolution. 2 weeks from today, on June 21st, 2021, we'll gather online for a national Poor People's Assembly and launch 365 days of fighting forward to June 2022, when we'll hold a massive moral march on Washington in person.
And New Jersey.
Hi, my name is Kevin Pierre, and I today with New Jersey Poor People's Campaign went to Hamilton, New Jersey, and we went to Congressman Chris Smith to demand and embrace the Third Reconstruction Resolution. Over the next year, we will continue to organize, mobilize, and build our power so we can realize a third Reconstruction to build this country up from the bottom up. And when we lift from the bottom, everybody rises.
And where are you from, Kevin? What part of New Jersey?
New Jersey. What part of New Jersey?
Uh-huh. Yeah, what part?
Montclair.
What city?
Montclair, New Jersey.
Okay. Yep. My father was from Camden, and he was there, remembers when poverty embraced Camden right outside of Philadelphia. And so it's so critical for New Jersey to be a major part of what's going on. I'm glad that you're in this movement, and tell all the folk in New Jersey, that tell everybody we coming from New Jersey. We're going to turn out big, particularly next year in D.C. Yeah.
We're going to blow up. We're going to blow up.
I know that's right. I can tell it by the swagger. Look, we miss Michigan. Michigan, testify.
I think they're having some technical difficulties, so that's. I had heard they were having trouble getting on, and so.
But Kentucky is back. Kentucky, we got to talk to Kentucky, and then after Kentucky, we go to Liz. I'll let you introduce your folk in New York, because you know New York, and you know how New York rolls. All right, Kentucky.
Kentucky's in the house. So thank you. I'm Arnold Farr, Kentucky Poor People's Campaign, from Lexington, but we spent the day in Louisville, Kentucky. We began with an action outside of our government building in Louisville, Kentucky, where we had testimony and song. And then we marched from there, singing as we marched, to Breonna Taylor Square in downtown Louisville. And a couple of things we did today, we sent a letter to the mayor of Louisville and the chief of police demanding police accountability. Here in Lexington, we've been fighting for a ban against no-knock warrants. And we also read a portion of the Third Reconstruction Resolution and shared that with our political leaders. And also reminded them that every morning when we watch the news, we hear people talking about a threat to our democracy, and we have to remind them that there was a threat to our democracy prior to January 6th. There was a threat to our democracy prior to November 2016. In fact, there's been a threat to our democracy or our democratic experiment from the beginning. And that threat has not yet been resolved. And we demanded a third reconstruction. If we are serious about having a democratic society, if we're serious about justice and fairness, if we're serious about equality and equity, we need a third reconstruction. It is kind of hypocritical for our political leaders to use even the language of democracy when they do nothing to bring about democracy, and when they do nothing to assure our citizens that they're going to make a living wage, that they're going to be treated fairly and justly. So those are some of the things we try to remind our political leaders of today. And again, thank you all for your work.
Thank you so much. I just want to remind folks in these powerful actions, please go to thirdreconstruction.org. Please sign up to join us on June 1st. Please keep on sending this powerful Third Reconstruction resolution out far and wide, and telling folks to also pass out this live stream, because these stories have to be heard. And so now I want to introduce the leaders from New York, followed by Oklahoma and Maryland. And so Aralise, tell us what's happening in New York.
Yeah, hello, New York was in the house, New York is in the house. Today, we have 5 actions in New York. My name is Arelis Figueroa. I am one of the tri-chair of the New York State Poor People's Campaign. Today in New York City, we gather in front of Representative Carolyn Malone, and we have the honor to have Reverend Liz with us. As Representative Malone, she's the chairperson, she's the chairwoman of the House and Oversee and Reform Committee. And that is where our resolution is. So we have an action in front of her office, and when we were able to go and deliver this resolution to her. Now, our capital region, Albany, the Hudson Valley, and North Country, they went to Albany as part of the New York Health for All, and they have a rally and dine-in, and they delivered this resolution to Paul Tonko's office. In Syracuse and Auburn gather, and Syracuse as Representative John Kakos, and they also delivered the resolution, and they have a very interfaith gathering over there. Long Island, they gather in front of Representative Tom Southey, and they also have a good turnout, and they say that they have media coverage. And finally, in the Eastern Southern Tier, they were in Binghamton and Claudia's tennis office. And they have Son, and they have multiple people from the counties and towns around Binghamton. So that's New York. So along with over 50 simultaneous action across 30 states, today together we are saying in one loud voice, it is time to address poverty and low wages from the bottom up. Because when we live from the bottom, everybody rises. Gracias.
Many thanks. Bradley from Oklahoma, please tell us about your involvement.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bradley Havener, and I am a member of the coordinating committee for the Oklahoma Poor People's Campaign. I'm a retired Marine and a current seminary student at Phillips Theological Seminary in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm a husband and I'm a father of 3 who happen to go to school in a school district where more than half of the students are on free and reduced lunches. Because today in Oklahoma, we are home to nearly 4 million people, 38% of those people are nearly 1.4 million Oklahomans are poor or low-income workers. This includes 51% of children, or 494,000. 44% of women, or 869,000. 63% of Black people, or 179,000. 63% of Latinx people, or 285,000. And 35% of white people, or 868,000. There are 795,000 Oklahomans that make under $15 an hour. That is 51% of Oklahoma's workforce as of 2018. It's the 11th highest in all of the country. The minimum wage in Oklahoma is $7.25 an hour. A living wage in our state in 2019 would have been $24.37 an hour. For Oklahomans working at the state minimum wage, it takes 86 hours of work per week to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. This morning, we gathered at the Oklahoma City National Memorial before we brought the Third Reconstruction Resolution to United States Representatives Kevin Hearn from Congressional District 1, Mark Wayne Mullen from Congressional District 2, Frank Lucas from Congressional District 3, Tom Cole from Congressional District 4, and Stephanie Bice from Congressional District 5, none of which have signed on to the resolution yet, but we are calling on them to sign on to this resolution and support the Third Reconstruction because Oklahomans deserve the relief that the Third Reconstruction will bring to our nation.
That's right. That's right. Amen. Everybody deserves all of the rights that will come from this resolution and the resolve that we must have to fully address these issues. We're going to have Maryland, and then I'm going to let Reverend Barber introduce North Carolina. We can't hear you.
Hi, I'm Louisa Davis from the great state of Maryland and the great home of the late, great Elijah Cummins. Happy to be here today to get our legislators behind the thing that's going to make Martin Luther King's dream real for all of us. And I waited 50 years and worked for this, and so it's exciting. We gather today in Annapolis to demand that all our state representatives, including you, Andy Harris, embrace the Third Reconstruction. When we have lawmakers like Congressman Andy Harris denying anything to do with Trump's evil deeds, and senators like Mitch McConnell and Joe Manchin, power hungry and not a bit aware of the hunger many of us have for justice and safety and health care, when they're blocking legislation for voting rights and living wages, we need to build the resolve, the person power, the moral energy for a third reconstruction. We want to center the 140 million poor and low-income people in the country and our Maryland, 10% of us, almost 1 million of us, and that's before COVID, struggle to make ends meet. So please join Maryland and all of us for moral laws and moral legislation that meet all of our needs. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. We indeed need moral laws that meet all of our needs. I'm gonna introduce North Carolina, the great state of North Carolina, and then Reverend Barbara's gonna take it from there.
Good afternoon. I'm George Friday. I'm represent one of the national partners, United for Peace and Justice, with the Poor People's Campaign. And today, I'm also part of North Carolina Peace Action and the North Carolina Poor People's Campaign. We gathered today in Raleigh and had an uplifting rally and then marched to Deborah Ross's office to demand that she and all of our state representatives embrace the Third Reconstruction Resolution. 2 weeks from today, on June 21, 2021, we will gather online for a National Poor People's Assembly and launch 365 days of working forward together to June 2022, when we will hold a massive moral march on Washington in person. We'll see you there, because we're coming.
All right, we're going to keep on going. We want to hear next from Ohio and then Patry Lewick from Texas.
Hi, I am Yolanda Kelser, and I'm here today with the Ohio Poor People's Campaign. I am a member of the coordinating committee, and I serve as a tri-chair for the beloved community care team. We gathered today in Cincinnati and in Cleveland to demand that we be heard. We need this third Reconstruction resolution. We are so excited that we joined with over 30 states across the nation. And so as we continue over the next year, we will keep organizing, mobilizing, and building our power so we can realize a third Reconstruction to build this country up from the bottom. Because when we lift from the bottom, everybody rises. Thank you.
And Texas.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patry Lewick, and I am a public school teacher that serves children in a Title I school. That means that 1 out of every 2 children that are in my campus qualify for the free and reduced lunch program because they're either poor or low income. The message that I want to leave with you today is simple. Let's change for children. We need a third Reconstruction if we indeed claim that we care for children. This has been a very grueling year for teachers and students. I cannot think of any other time in public education where we've had the challenges that we faced. So today I want to share a story of one of my teenage students. His name is Michael. Michael had to attend our virtual school platform because his mom is considered to be at risk for COVID. She was diagnosed with diabetes, high blood pressure, and other health issues. As you can imagine, Michael struggled, and it would have been really easy for me to start blaming Michael as not caring for his education, his mom not being concerned about what's happening to Michael. We kind of have this really bad habit in our nation to blame the poor for when something is not going right. But that is simply not true. If you're in public education and you're serving the children of the poor, you know that there's something that we're missing. There's a piece of the puzzle that we're missing. And that is what was happening in Michael's situation. So in February, Michael reached out to me. I could tell he was scared. He was worried. His mom was having a very difficult time breathing. And his mom was afraid of going to the hospital because she didn't have the money to be able to go and pay for the bills that would come afterwards. That's kind of sad, right? Because this is the richest nation in the world, and a single mom cannot afford basic health care without putting herself and her children in jeopardy to become homeless because they don't have the resources that they need. It's hard for me as a teacher to tell you about some of this stuff. So bear with me just a little bit, okay? So she didn't want to go to the hospital. She made it, and of course, as soon as she stepped foot in that hospital, she was placed in ICU. She had to be there for over 2 weeks. Now, get this: her 2 boys, Michael and his brother, now had no one watching out for them. They had no adults checking on them, and this also happened to be the time when Texas was ravaged by that winter storm that shut down power. So Michael and his brothers were left by themselves with no electricity, no running water, and they had to figure out how to stay warm. Okay. And that was really rough. I mean, I can't imagine any 16-year-old going through something like that. And I thank God that the boys were 16 and not younger children. Okay. So mom made it home. She didn't die, thank God, because everybody was afraid that she was going to, okay? She made it home, but she continues to struggle with her health. She has lingering effects of COVID, and her poor health continues to deteriorate. I talked to her before I agreed to speak with today because I wanted to be respectful of not exploiting the poor to advance an agenda. I'm very protective of our children in that way. So I'm here today because I want to make sure that we have a message that's clear. We need Texas and our country to change for our children. Half of our kids in this country are poor or low income. And in Texas, 4 million children are in poverty. Let me just say it again, just to make sure everybody gets this. Half of the children in the United States of America, the richest nation on the planet, live in poverty. Doesn't make sense to me. And I hope it doesn't make sense to you either. Okay? Did you know that only 8% of the national budget actually goes to public education? 8%. We can do better. I know we can. It's not an issue of scarcity about money, but I agree with you, Reverend. It's an issue about scarcity of social consciousness. It's easier to blame and scapegoat people when we don't want to really face what we're doing to the poor.
That's right.
We do need to heal our nation, and it is possible. We need to guarantee quality health care for all. We can do this, and we need to. Let's change for children. We need to invest in our public schools to make sure all of our children have the opportunity to thrive and reach their full potential. This is not a dream. This can be done. And we need to protect our voting rights. We need all voices heard, not just some voices. We need our voting rights protected. We take these rights for granted. And now they're going to be so limited. We need to be so careful that we don't end up being a country where most of the people do not have access to the opportunities afforded to us by the Constitution of the United States of America.
That's right, Patrick. We gotta make sure we do that, and that's why this gathering today is letting people speak from all over the country. You are exactly. I love that what you said. We can't take it for granted. We can't just say, well, it will be there. We are living in a time that will show us that it really can't be there if we don't make sure that it's there. I'm gonna let you finish, and I'm gonna go to Rhode Island and Tennessee and Washington State.
I just wanted to say that this is why we need a third reconstruction. That's when we lift from the bottom, everyone rises. So let's change for children. Thank you.
Everybody, I want you all to hear what Patrick just did for us, and I want us to remember that. She led with the children. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to know how is the nation, you ask the question, how are the children? That's the question. And when you can stand in a nation and say over 50% of its children are in poverty and low wealth. And Shally, if you're on, I want us to get the data on. We do the data on 750 poor people die every day from poverty, but I want the data on how many children die. I know it's hard to hear it, but the only way you can shift the consciousness of a nation is you got to show that nation itself. Then if it doesn't change, the nation has something wrong with it, worse than what we can imagine. But we've got to tell the truth and put a picture, a face on these facts. How is the nation? Well, tell me how the children are, and I'll tell you how the nation is and what must change. Thank you so much from Texas, my dear sister. We look to be on the front lines with you, and blessings to you always. Rhode Island, Tennessee, and Washington. Rhode Island.
Reverend Bob, it's such a great time to be with everyone that's here today. And my name is Carl Jefferson, Reverend Carl Jefferson, and I am here today standing with the state of Rhode Island, a state of hope. And we are in the midst of a heat wave, but we gathered together. We was determined with moving forward and not one step back today. We met in Pawtucket at Representative Cicilline's office, and we, along with the 30 other states, demanded that all of our state representatives embrace all of what we are asking for when it comes to the Reconstruction Resolution, along with the other 50 states that simultaneously got together across the states. We joined together to say in one loud voice that it's time to fully address poverty and low income and all the interconnectedness of what we are standing against. And it's time now, and we're not going to be silent anymore, Reverend Bob.
Thank you, preacher. Thank you, preacher.
Good afternoon. My name is Gordon Myers, and I'm today with the Tennessee Poor People's Campaign. We brought together a powerful fusion gathering of community leaders and impacted people this morning in the rain in front of the Clifford Davis Ordell Horton Federal Building in Memphis. And we ended up baptizing the Third Reconstruction, fully addressing poverty and low wages from the bottom up resolution. And we demanded that all of our states represent and embrace that resolution. When we have lawmakers like Senator McConnell and Senator Manchin who are blocking legislation around voting rights and living wages, we have to build a resolve for this resolution for a third reconstruction that centers on the 140 million poor brothers and sisters and low-income people in our country, and the 2.5 million people who are low-income in Tennessee. They deserve moral laws and legislation that meets their needs. We have to have that in Tennessee. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you so much for your strength and for Tennessee. Washington, testify.
My name is Darcy Gillespie. I am a member of the Washington Poor People's Campaign, member of the Lower Columbia Regional Campaign of the Washington State Poor People's Campaign. I am also a proud member of Longview Presbyterian Church, and I serve on their mission committee. Today we visited 5 out of the 10 of our Washington State representatives' offices during our demand, delivering our demand for Congress to take immediate action to end poverty. Before the pandemic, over 2.5 million people in Washington State lived in poverty or right on the verge of poverty. That number has grown since the COVID-19 pandemic. And now more than ever, we are left with a moral obligation to address poverty. Washington's Poor People's Campaign has spent a lot of time over the past year and a half helping the unhoused and fighting against evictions that will leave more people in this state on the streets. Specifically, we held a rally around Cancel the Rent this past Saturday to spotlight this dire situation. In 2020, during a global pandemic, the number of unhoused individuals rose by 6% in this state, one of the largest state increases across the country. We are at a point of crisis in this state and in this country. People do not create poverty. Policies create poverty. For those who don't have enough to eat, those who don't have access to health care, and don't have enough to keep the electricity on or water on, for those who are fighting to keep a roof over their heads, and for those who are living exposed without shelter, every day is a form of violence. Poverty is state-sanctioned violence, and it is time to end the war on the poor. We need a third reconstruction now, and this time we must get it right. As a person of faith and as a human being, I have a moral obligation to speak against injustice and work to help everyone in my community. I want to make a difference in my community and help others. I am drawn to the coalition and multi-issue aspects of the movement. It's movement time. Forward together, not one step back. On June 21st, we will assemble for an online mass march on Washington. Congress, Washington is coming.
Amen, amen. Indeed you are. And listen, I want to thank you for all the way over in Washington. And then I want to go to another W state, West Virginia. And West Virginia is going to come on, but I want everybody to know that West Virginia decided that they need to stand up to what's
I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you messing with my stuff?
going on in West Virginia, particularly with Senator Manchin. So on next Monday, West Virginians and Eastern Kentuckians are going to be standing up for a moral march on Manchin in West Virginia to say that his commitment to the filibuster, his stance against living wages, his stance against voting rights are just wrong. And it's not just a black-white issue. His stance against those things hurt Black people, brown people, Asian people, white people, from the hollers to the hood. And we're not going to allow him anymore to act as though, you know, he's just taking this stance because he is concerned about the country. Actually, he's more committed to the aristocracy and the ruling elite than he is to the people of West Virginia. West Virginians said, no more. We can't have him going on anymore saying he represents us when that's not true. So West Virginia, are you on the line at this time? And then after you, Reverend Liz is going to take us all the way to the end.
Yeah, I'm in the house, Reverend Barber. I'm Pam Garrison. And today I was with the West Virginia Poor People's Campaign in Beckley, West Virginia, at Carol Miller's office, demanding the 3 of our representatives sign on to the resolution to build from the bottom up. 2 weeks from today, on June 21st, 2021, we will all gather online for a national Poor People's Assembly and launch 365 days of fighting and organizing forward to June 2022, when we will hold a massive moral march on Washington in person, and we're coming. Thank you, Reverend Barber. If I can say something.
Of course you can.
I've watched my senator talking about compromise, and I wonder, what reality is he in? Does he think, is he that delusional, or does he think we are that stupid? You got to have somebody to compromise. We've had 13 years of Mitch McConnell saying, no, you can't have a living wage. No, the Grim Reaper I am. Let your bills come here to die. I don't care. And now the senator that I put in there that comes here and says, I can relate to you poor people, and looks down at me, his nose at me with pompousness, and don't hear what I'm saying. Yeah, he'll let me sit there and say what I say and pour my heart out. And you know what? He turns right around and does the very opposite of the things that I'm saying is hurting us and hurting our people. He goes and does. So, yeah, we're calling him out on these lies because I talk to people. I'm a West Virginian. 80% of West Virginians, we want the voting rights. We see our democracy sliding away, and we're not going without a fight. We see we have gotten sicker and poorer, and we can't take it no more, and we are not. We are coming. We are coming. And I'll tell you what, my fellow Americans are coming with me. We don't need guns. We've got morals. We've got justice and a constitution that they have stomped on. And this is my constitution and my country I'm fighting for. And I want everyone, the news media, every one of my West Virginians, every one of my Americans to know we are in this together, and we're not taking no for an answer, and we're not listening to the lies, the conspiracy theories, and the just downright immoralities anymore. I've got the Lord, and I've got reverence. I've got my people behind me, and we are coming. Poor People's Campaign, we're not political. We're not about different parties. but we are about policies that lift us up and that helps everybody. And how can somebody have that much power in their hands and not use it for good?
That's right.
I don't understand that.
That's right. That's
so
right.
I apologize to all of y'all for my representatives. And I'll tell you what, we can do better. We deserve better.
Yes, yes, yes. No apologies.
Right, we do.
We're going to stand. We're coming. We're coming. And we don't need guns. We don't need violence. We don't need that. We got something stronger and more powerful.
We got.
That's right. I hear Kentucky on the house. Everybody. That's right. Pam, thank you for that. And that's what we got to do, y'all. Just come straight from the heart and the head, pull no punches, and be clear that we will not surrender our freedom and justice and equality. We will not do it. We will not do it. And we don't have to do what these folk do that want to tear the country up. All we want to do is lift up. We want to lift from the bottom because we know that when that happens, everybody will be lifted. But we got to bring our passion and our power and our principles and our deep commitment. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
We don't need much after that, Liz. But
no, we surely don't.
Yeah.
We surely don't. But we do want to hear from Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. about the powerful actions that are there. And we've gotten our marching orders. We've gotten our call to action. But Wisconsin, tell us about what happened in the great state of Wisconsin today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tamara Patton. I'm I'm one of the coordinating committee members with the Wisconsin Poor People's Campaign. And boy, Pam got me going because I'm excited that this was my first organizing event today. And I'm really excited that this was my first event with the Poor People's Campaign. I'm a little late to the game, so I need to catch up where Pam is for sure. But today we gathered throughout Wisconsin virtually, and we gathered in person in Racine, Wisconsin, on the steps of the Racine Courthouse, where one of Representative Brian Stiles' offices is located, to demand that all of our state's representatives embrace the Third Reconstruction Resolution. When we have lawmakers like Senator Mitch McConnell and Senator Manchin who are blocking legislation for voting rights and living wages, we need to build the resolve for a third reconstruction that centers the 140 million poor and low-income people in the country and the 2 million poor and low-income people in this state with moral laws and legislation that meet our needs.
Thank you. Thank you. It sounds like Wisconsin is coming. And D.C.,
thank you, Reverend Liz. My name's Liz McNichol, and I'm with the Washington, D.C. Poor People's Campaign. We gathered today to thank Representative Eleanor Holmes Norton for supporting the Third Reconstruction Resolution, but also to demand statehood for D.C. so that our representatives and the people of D.C. will have a vote and a voice in Congress. We're looking forward to the online gathering on June 21st, 2021. And we're really looking forward to a year from now when you all come to our hometown, to Washington, D.C., for the massive moral march on Washington in person. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. So we have heard about these powerful actions all across the country and the resolve that we already have and that we're building. The resolve that Pam Garrison in West Virginia is helping us to lead the way in. The resolve about putting the children first and making sure we address all of these issues. When we read this resolution that was inspired by the agenda of the Poor People's Campaign, it reminds us that these are moral documents and that we have to go back to our founding, our Constitution and founding moral documents that remind us that it's an abomination to have 140 million people in the richest country in the world who are poor and one emergency away from deep economic ruin. To remind us that we have the solutions, we have the ideas, we have the resources, in fact, to make all of this a reality. And so indeed, we're going to keep on organizing and nothing is going to turn us around. And so I just want to thank everybody today. We're going to keep on marching. We're going to keep on building. We're going to keep on fighting forward to June 21st and then to June 18th, 2022. We're going to be marching in the streets and online, making sure that everyone hears that everybody's got a right to live. So so maybe we can get all on for one more time. We can see the beautiful folks and remember all of the beautiful photos from the actions today. A reminder to go to thirdreconstruction.org and make sure you sign up for June 21st, and make sure you push and send this resolution out, this powerful resolution. One of my favorite quotes, and many people have heard me use this before, but from Frederick Douglass. And when we were hearing about the rainstorm in Tennessee and the heat wave across the Midwest, when we were hearing the fire that Pamela from West Virginia is bringing to us, it was making me think about, when Frederick Douglass says that power concedes nothing without a demand, and then goes on to say, it is not light that we need, but fire. It's not a gentle shower, but thunder. That we need a storm and a whirlwind and an earthquake. And indeed, this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, is bringing all of that. And we're going to keep fighting forward, because we move forward together and not one step back. Nothing's going to turn us around.
That's right.
Great.
That's right. Yes. Thank you, Reverend Liz. And thank you everyone for coming on, and for those who organized actions in over 50 locations across the nation. I've been in this movement for a while now. I can remember when it was pulling teeth to get 3 simultaneous actions. And it's amazing how blessed we have been by the hard work that you all have done to get to this moment. We are 2 weeks away from the National Poor People's Assembly, which is going to be a hybrid in-person and online event. For those who are within 4 hours or so from Raleigh, and you are feeling comfortable and vaccinated and want to come and join us in person, you're welcome to come. Everyone else, it's going to be a dynamic experience online for you to participate as well. And we'll have people from online coming in a Jumbotron on Halifax Mall, where Moral Mondays originated, however many years ago that was. 12 years ago, I don't know. No, that's not right. Bad math. That's not my suit. But we are really looking forward to hosting everyone here in Raleigh. It's going to be a powerful event. So please go to thirdreconstruction.org if you haven't already, and make sure that you click if you're coming in person, so that we can track it. And we'll also have a screen the night before for some folks who are in town. But we really want everyone out here as on the summer solstice, as we shine a light and bring the fire. And we think we'll have some visitors from some of our other states bringing some powerful messages as well. And so look forward to seeing you there. And I see our friend Tana. Tana, since you're on, could you lead us out in a Forward Together? Then we have a special video tribute that some of y'all may have seen from Tulsa, Oklahoma from last week, Bradley. And then we'll close out in a song. So Tana, can you lead us out in a cheer, and then we'll...
You better believe it. You better believe it.
Yeah,
everybody ready. Everybody ready. Everybody ready. Forward together.
Not one step back.
One more time. Because here we come. We're coming. Forward together.
Not one step back.
Woo! Woo!
Yes.
Let's go get it.
Yeah.
And do you happen to have a bank account?
2 weeks.
Turn me around, I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up the freedom way. Ain't gonna let no racism turn me around. Oh, turn me around. Oh, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no racism turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up to freedom. One more time, everybody. Ain't gonna let nobody. Come on, y'all. Turn me around. Everybody, turn me around. Oh, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom
Right now, yeah.
We have come to liberate you from all the ways that you hold us down. When you hurt me, you hurt you too. When you free me, you free yourself. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Y'all feel that? Would you sing this with me? I'll sing a line, y'all sing a line. We have come to liberate you from all the ways that you hold us down. When you hurt me, you hurt you too. When you free me, you free yourself. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Now you. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Say, when you. Poor folk are the first to suffer in this warring economy. We are called to love each other. We're a chosen family. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. Come on, everybody. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. When you live from the bottom, everybody rises. We need air that's safe to breathe. We need water we can drink. You might say the poor are weak, but we are stronger than they. Oh, when you live from the bottom, everybody rises. 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 All right, y'all. We're going to sing that first verse again, and before we do, I just want you to think about something. We're going to sing, "We have come to liberate you." And the reason that we're going to say that is that when we march to the Capitol, we are not going there asking for them to give us liberation, right? That is not how liberation works. We are walking to the Capitol, we are saying, we are coming to give you something. We are going to give you freedom, to give you liberation for the ways that you have hurt us, and our families, and our people. So let's give that gift to them with song, all right? We have come to liberate you from all the ways that you hold us down. When you free me, you free yourself. When you live from the bottom, everybody rising. When you live from the bottom,